Whoa! That's a good tune. I think everybody has their ditty now, a song, eh? McDonald's has their ba 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 ba. These guys. I like it. If you can get a song that describes who you are, that's awesome. Incredible, in fact. I wonder what I'd get. I should get one. Maybe Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi or something. I'm not sure what would describe me. Maybe I need some folks consulting with me to get my music down pat, eh? Like another Germany whiskey, some kind of flavor, a fire hydrant exploding water out somewhere, out onto the street with no hose. I've seen that happen in my life. Anyways, we'll go there. We'll figure it out. We'll get a tune. I think everybody needs a tune. I have enough sayings to describe who our company is, you know, all the slogans and mottos and what we do, all the different avenues of our work, all summed up, the proses of it. So that's great. You know, this is Last Pro, this video, Last Pro. And what this is about is just one comment, one consulting comment about the days we're in. I always want people to know the days ahead and how to handle things in their life and their corporation. And obviously, I have said more than once, I will not give away the last 7% of our secrets that helped us get double in all our work through our whole life, corporations, organizations that I have worked for personally. And I will not give those last 7% of the secrets away. That's what you pay me for when I come work. I give a lot of stuff away, a lot of tune in the marketplace, so you know what I do. You stay equipped in your life. You're getting value right now, right? So if I create value in you with my organization, you're likely, possibly, you might, to hire us at some point in time. When you need an organization like ours, you'll think of us. We got a lot of good stuff, creativity and pose and suppose and pros, all of it, right? Out there, so you're aware who we are. Our brand is that. I'd like a tune, maybe too. We'll work on that. But the one thought I have is, we were talking earlier in one of the videos, I said, one of the things I want you to focus on is the King's ways. And what it says, and this has been misinterpreted in many Christian circles, in my facts of things and how I've interpreted the Bible myself, the inherent scripture prose. What that promise is, this is a good promise for people who know and people who suppose they're this and they're actually doing this and they're working in it. And this is work, right? It's in the work, in creating work and doing work, and you're in the work, you're inhabiting the work, you're in it, you're making it happen. It's almost like you're part of it, right? It says, the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. And that's in the forever, I suppose, and I know. I'll say it again. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. So what that means is in our economy of things, in the kingdom economy of heaven, but right now, I suppose, what you do first and you put yourself last, or least in scenarios, making accommodation for others to make things happen, transaction and business, doesn't always feel good. You got to get out of yourself and say, man, I remember driving into a Hutter 8 colony once at 10 to 5. Josh, I suppose, another friend of mine from good old days way back at Andy Pioneer, Patterson Grain guy. I used to work against him. I knew him in Davidson. He was a competitor. Then I worked in that organization on a contract basis, I suppose, for a short 5 months. And 10 to 5. And I'm 40 minutes from town. And I could drive home and get home at about 5:30 and have my supper. And it's cold out. It's like honestly, it was like almost 40 below. They were in their shop, meat shop that day, and I decided to pull in to the yard and go see who I could find at 10 to 5. And I made one of my largest sales that day just by getting a talk started that concluded 10 days later. So you never know when you're in business what you're going to do, but if you put yourself least or last and sometimes get out of your own, you know, I that one could have been 50-50. I didn't have to call it a selfish desire to go home. It was quite liquid and equitable to go home. But I made the effort. I thought, no, I got to go in here. I'm way up here in this part of the neighborhood. I got to go in here. Otherwise, why am I up here? You know, I had some other calls that day. But it's like, you're here anyhow. Just go in. Be a bit late. What does it matter? They were glad to talk to me. We had a good talk. Showed me around the farm a bit, a tour. And 1 or 2 days later, I made a $250,000 sale to that guy. And it all came down to just pulling in and getting out of myself, not giving in to that desire, that fleshly desire. Oh, it's so cold. I'd love just to get home to my warm house and have supper. And any man would do that. That's just normal. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. My brother Rod knows this. He's made insurance sales his whole life now for probably 18 years or more, 19 maybe, and he's been on president council reward trips, rewards, Jamaica, all kinds of nice places, cruise liners, take your spouse, eat, have a good time, enjoy the life, have some business meetings while you're there. It's good. There's nothing wrong with a certain amount of eating and being merry and enjoying life if you're focused on your purpose too. And that's what people do, right? Good reward system, sales building company, the last pro. So how this has been misinterpreted, and I'll tell you my thought on this. People have often said, well, if you're rich in this life, in the kingdom, once we're all in heaven, those guys aren't going to have as great a place as guys that had the poor, the last, the least, the people on the streets and all that. That's not entirely true. It might be to some degree, but what it really means is putting yourself last to make accommodation for others in the good sales and service skill set. People in this life who have created a lot of wealth and do well often do it by putting themselves last. They think of themselves first and their need, and then they get out of themselves and put themselves last and do a lot of good things helping others in their accommodations of needs and wants and helps that people need, whether it's humanitarian or business, both sides. And those people are the least or the last, even though they got great wealth, because they're doing that right. So they're making themselves least and last so others can be first and get the accommodation of good business and what they need in this life. If we're selfish and we're only thinking of ourselves first, what can I do for me, and not getting out of our fleshly desires, not working out our business plan, doing things properly, moving things forward, that person in this life who is first becomes last. And that is how that scripture is interpreted in the eternity of heaven. It's got nothing to do exactly with just rich people will have the least in heaven and poor people are going to end up in great, humongous jobs and roles and worship roles and thankfulness and rewards in heaven. It's not true. You can be totally poor and be a bumbling buffoon who knows nothing. And you'll be, if you have your belief in this last pro ethic of the Samaritan pro humanitarian talk, you might be lucky just to scrape your way into heaven and get in and barely be in. But at least you're in, and that's good. But the people who put the right qualities, learned the ancient ways and truths, passed them on to others, or did them so in a way that created an economy, like a government, a Justin Trudeau, I suppose, or anybody who's helping create business economy, business enterprise out in the kingdom of the earth in Canada, I suppose, those can be great quantities where you're putting yourself least. And if you're doing it, but where are we in history? That's the question, right? Because what happens if we can't get this under control in our society? What if we're at that point in time where it just will never be leveraged back into a organization of any kind anywhere, and things just keep falling apart and unraveling? Now, I'm not saying that true specific to this moment, but it could happen. You never know. So if it does, I've always said since day one, and you've heard this nowhere except from Bernie May and its origination in Connections Consulting, the Good Samaritan pro of our ethic, God has the right to intervene. He's like the end time referee of a hockey game where the game is out of control. He gets in, exerts his control, and takes all of us who believe onto heaven in the next life. And wouldn't that be great if that happened? If we can't get it under control in mankind and do our work again properly and get our organizations functioning, governments and economies uplifted again to where they're supposed to be. And you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it might. And it's not the old every I must be dotted and T crossed scenario where people have told you all the prophets have to be prophesied and they all have to be fulfilled and all that. Jesus said in that one scripture, and I forget the address of it now, but he said, "It is finished. I am the fulfillment. All the law and has been fulfilled. All the prophecies have been, it is finished. My death on the cross has finished it." So that tells me, I suppose, God in his humanity caring for us, his humanity might love us so much. If we're like in that movie, White Squall, where we can't get it under control in this society globally, his compassion will rule and he'll bail us out, because he does not want any of us to be so awkward and crushed out there that we can never get back up on our feet again. You know, his only thing he said was every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord. That's all that was said in the ancient scripture prose. So I go with that. You know, and I'm just thinking way back to my first girlfriend even. I cooked steaks in our house for her. I remember that. I enjoyed having my friend over to cook steaks to, and our parents accommodated that in our home, I suppose, because we lived in our parents' home. We dwelled by their rules, even when we got older. And if we ever broke any and we got corrected, we got back on track and we were in less trouble by doing that. And that's all I'm saying about anything in life. And I would do that with my friends. I would be their host while they were there, and I was glad to have that opportunity with people in life. And one of them was my first girlfriend, Karen. And anyways, all that, I ended up marrying her, that one. Anyways, I won't get into all that. I was brought up well. I enjoyed work, and that's one of the reasons we're talking about work is the rewards. And we would like to get it back on track. I experienced a few bullies in my day. I often hung out with older friends. I don't know why, and through my life it's been that way. I have a range of friends, younger and older, I suppose. Through my adult life in the early years, guys 15 years older than me. Bobby K, guys like that. Greg, Martinsky, Martinchuk, that guy. But when I was a kid, and my parents afforded me this for some reason, I go hang out with guys 4 years older than me. I needed to be living on a prayer back then. I remember flicking a cigarette out of one guy's mouth 4 years older than me because I told him, you shouldn't be smoking it. I just flicked it out of his mouth. And anyway, nothing burnt down that day. That was good. Another guy, and this guy became a good friend of mine in later years for a time of life, but his sister threw a rock and hit me in the head, and I got mad at her. And she was a bit bigger than me, this sister. And like a good guy would, I punched her back in the arm, not in the head. But then he saw me do that. Well, of course, the good big brothers. Anyway, my dad happened to look up from the kitchen table and see at supper time me running home for safety, and I didn't quite make it. I got caught right in the back alley as I stepped into our yard, and I got the tar beat out of me that day. So, things can happen. You never know. Home is your safety spot, hopefully. It's where you can be safe. But if you remember what I told you about the Avenger Pro, the Psalm 91 shield, and that etiquette of scripture life, and as we study into that prose of things on that other talk, that other weekend, it's on the Facebook personal timeline. I talked about you can be safe anywhere if you're under the realm of God and you're doing the right things. You're focused on what matters to Him. He'll keep you safe, right? You don't have you don't have to be in danger spots. You can be, almost anywhere, and you're not in danger, right? So you got to think about those things. They're supernatural in context and pose, but consider that. And well, I had one other friend too, another guy. I used to go hang out with him. I never got in any trouble with him. I mostly listened to him tell me about stuff because he was older and glad to teach me things, I guess. He was 4 years older. And that guy, he was the oldest of some brothers and sisters, and I was the oldest. And maybe that was a common bond, but I remember he'd be telling me stuff about his music magazines and different things. And I was just interested in learning always. And I think where there's learning, there's life. And we always got to remember that. Where there's learning, there's life. And what seems right to us might not always be the right way, but the Lord always knows if we trust Him. Now go with that. That's it for now. The pros of last pro talking. And we're moving on to other things here with our week. We'll be back soon next week with some more action on the Compass and sales blog, getting into some sales blog things and some family pro stuff and a few other things. But, and I don't know, we'll see. I'm debating whether we do some typing or talk some more. Sometimes it just flows better when you talk. Other times a quick paragraph with a little headline or header is all you need. So we'll go there. We'll just always keep it simple and try to be the flavor the audience wants to receive in, because we're all about humankind, humanity, the humankind, and dwelling in our business and getting forth the principles so we can get the next job on the books, the next money income slated into our queue, the next accounts receivable collected, all that, going forth, managing our business, staying pro with our customer base. And I'll go from there. We'll see you in the marketplace soon. And I hope you like that tune, because we'll be getting our ditty soon too. Now goodbye. Bernie May, Connections Consulting. Have a good day. wconnectionscon.ca. Go from there.